We grunted, we sweated, we did all the things last week. This week, I'm going to show you how to align this sucker.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxie, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, now if you look at this right now, you can see that the deck lid is sitting up on top of the body. Were this a painted car, I would be a lot more ticklish about where this thing lands when I'm doing this kind of stuff. Since it's not in paint yet, I'm just going to show you what I do in order to align these things. Right now I would say that the driver's side is too far back and the passenger side is too far forward. So I'm going to pick the deck lid up. I'm going to use a combination wrench now rather than the impact to loosen these up a little bit so I can move this deck lid around. Because what I want to do is actually pull it out too far, so to speak, on this side. And I'm going to work my way back using my combination wrenches. If you get these to the right tension point, you can actually move the deck lid back and forth without having to fully tighten it down until you're ready to tighten it down for final. It makes things like this a little easier. I think I've got this one is all the way forward. Yeah, it is already all the way forward. Yep. All right, now both of these hood hinges are now all the way out at their backmost position, so they are where they're going to rest for this portion of what I'm doing. They should be equal. If our mounts were done correctly at the factory, both sides of this deck lid should be where we can shut the deck lid and it not strike. Now, we got a problem on this car because it looks like the deck lid is actually out just a little bit on one side. So what I will do now is I'll go back and check this back corner. Aren't even. I'm going to tell you something about Detroit back in the day. There is an 1/8 of an inch of difference in everything they did. I've talked about this in the past before, but Ford and all of them would have about an 1/8 of an inch of difference in the way the cars work. That's why everything had adjustments on it, except right here. The deck lid area didn't have any adjustments on it, so we're going to have to try to work this a little bit to get it where we need it to be. And I forgot my wrench. I'm going to pick this up. I'll loosen it. Now I should be able to come back here, drop the deck lid, and bump it into position. Still a little bit out this way. I'm going to go back out and start again. And what I'm doing now is I'm just checking my line to make sure that everything is sitting the way it's supposed to sit. The deck lid is a little high in the center and a little bit low at the corners, and it's not far enough back. It's still kind of proud down here at the back edge of the deck lid, so it can actually go that way just a little bit on both sides. Still a little tight over here. This could be from a previous accident. Could also just be the way these things are. I'm going to bump it in the center. Believe me, this much care was not taken back in the day when they were doing these. I have to loosen that bolt up just a hair. And this is what this kind of stuff's all about. You're going to be going back and forth, back and forth. I like using combination wrenches with a ratcheting head on them because it's a little easier to work this stuff. Sorry you're having to look at the back of my head. loud. That's pretty good. That line back there is a little bit better. I may go where it's a little short. We're a little bit short. And the other one was this way too. It actually fit a little bit better than this one does. And if I go any further back, I'm going to be in trouble as far as this is concerned. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten everything down. I'm going to show you how to fix a low spot like we've got in that corner over there. Now when I tighten this stuff down, I don't open the deck lid all the way. I only open it up a little bit, just enough to get that combination wrench in there. Because you can slip the lid if you're not careful. Now what can happen too is once you tighten this deck lid up, you may be in a position where it's changed position. It may be high and it may be low. Usually the deck lid will sink at the back edge when you tighten this bolt that's toward the back. You have a bolt here and a bolt here. When you tighten the one that's in here, a lot of times the deck lid will sink in that back corner. That's probably tight enough there. Come to this side, tighten these up. I think that'll be good enough. Drop the lid. Yeah, and you see what happened? That side's fine now. And this side over here is down at the corner. But it's fine here, which tells me that that corner is probably bumped by somebody at the factory. Whenever they did this, they probably bumped that corner down a little bit to make it fit better. All right, what I'm going to do now with my little block of 1x4, this is what I typically use in depth to do what I'm going to do, which is pick this corner up. I call this sheet metal bending because I think the factory probably did a little bit of this as well. I'm going to open the deck lid up. I'm going to put that block of wood right here. I'm going to do that just to bend it and see if that picked it up any. It picked it up a little bit, but not quite enough. Use the wood because wood is sacrificial. It won't hurt it. And I'm moving the piece of wood around. You saw the deck lid dimple down a little bit there, so that might be about as much as I can do on that corner. But that's a lot better than it was. It's not down as low, it's not dived into that corner. I'm going to go ahead and do one more push. The dive starts about right here and then goes to about right here on this corner. I'm going to try one more push with my wood to see if I can get this to pick up in that corner just a little bit more. But like I said, I'm starting to get dimpling on the top side of the sheet metal, and that's not good. I'm going to take this and run it along the line of the curve. Watching that sheet metal on top to make sure it doesn't do anything funky. Wait till you pull it back out. There you go. It sits up just a little in the center, which means it probably over time, because the hinges on these things are horrible. They're an interference fit hinge and they'll get rusty and it'll cause problems. You can do the same thing on the front edge of the hood. You can actually go in and put a piece of wood here and then push to the center. Nothing in the back, something in the front, and you can try to get that hood to lay flat again where it's supposed to. Because if I lay it the way it needs to lay on here, the back edge down here is low on both sides, telling me that somebody's gone up, grabbed that deck lid or trunk lid and tried to close it with the hinges being messy. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. All right, so I'm going to talk about the hinges real quick. Now, you hear that scraping noise? That's because when Ford set these hinges up, this is crazy, they actually made an interference point on the hinge right here that needs to be greased. How often do you think that thing got greased after, say, the first 4 or 5 years of the car being alive and running around in the world? Maybe never. And that's why a lot of times with these really long deck lids, even with the fantastic job of ribbing that Ford did underneath here, they can get a little tweaked and bent. I do not know if I can even reform this thing back into the correct position. The other one had some of the same issues on it, so it's not just this one. I actually had to go in on this car and grease this, because a lot of times when you're trying to open a deck lid on one of these old Galaxies, it'll just rattle all the way up, and you're like, what is it doing? Well, what it's doing is there's no grease on those ride points here, and it causes it to not open well. I'm going to try putting a 1x4 on here and seeing if I can get in here and do what I want to do. I have a doubt, but you never know. It's like doing CPR on an old car. Yeah, it's still high. That's going to require a lot more work than what I'm doing here. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at it and I'm marking my position where I need to do my push. Okay, maybe it's a little more violent than CPR. With that underside ribbing, there's no telling if this is even working. Yeah, that helped. It's a little bit better. Not great, but better. I would probably move this deck lid over this way just a little bit. I'll show you that in just a second. This one's still high right there. There's actually a little dent right here in it that I just found, which could be part of why it's high in that spot. Actually, it's high more right there. Try one more time on that one. Then I'll show you how to adjust the hinges horizontally. It's still a little bit high. If you get that to where it's lining up here, it's high here, all the way to about right there. I'm gonna go bold here. I hope this doesn't look as stupid as it feels. Sadly, though, it works. Yeah. Still a little bit high. Right through here. I'm going to probably call this for now and just show you guys how to do the hinges and adjust them. I call this one Darth Mauled because in a fit of rage as a teenager, I did this to this, and Dad made me keep it. So I'm going to take Darth Mauled. Now, here's the thing. If you want to move your deck lid this way, you need to strike the hinges on this inside edge here and there. If you want to move the deck lid the other way, you strike the other side. So it's opposite of the way you want to move it. You strike the hinge this way if you want to move the deck lid that way, or trunk lid. I don't know with as heavy as this deck lid is if that's going to make me any difference. Yeah, it did. Now we're a little too tight on this side. Let's go back the other way. Just a hair. It's like I hit it too hard either time. All right, go back the other way one more time. Oh, be helpful if I move the hammer. Yeah. That's pretty darn close right there. Still got that high spot. Now I'm going to take and retighten the hinges up, or the bolts up, and we're good to go on horizontal alignment. So now what I would probably try to do is to just get back on that side up here on the top of the deck lid and try to get this section here to drop into play like as nicely as this side is. And Ford, what little alignment they probably would have done this before they painted the car. So all this would have been finished up so that whenever they put the paint on there, you wouldn't see chipped paint on any of the fasteners. I think General Motors did pretty much the same thing, though I'm not double sure about that. Not that we care about General Motors on this show, but you know what I mean. Simple, right? These things can be kind of a pain in the butt, but if you really work through them and take your time and do the job the way you're supposed to, you will end up with a nice fitting deck lid. Now I will say this on trunk lid setups, as it were. Once you put the gasket material in here, it will possibly change the position of things, and you'll have to go back in and do a little bit more adjustment, because some of the rubber stuff that's out there will actually pop the deck lid open just a little bit, and it'll be a lot harder to get the trunk lid shut because the rubber content is a little bit harder than it was back in the day. So there you go. And there's our co-host. I have Sauron. That's what Cam calls that end of the pony, so to speak, or my kitty. She's been in a fight recently, so she's been kind of surly and she's got some marks on her, but she's doing okay. She's a good little cat and we have to feed her. And speaking of feeding her, we have to feed Darren as well. We don't feed him, we give him money to feed himself, and we don't give him the money, he earns it. He works for it around here, and the only way I can pay Darren is if you help support us through Patreon. Now, it can be as little as $2 or $1, I don't care what you want to put into the kitty. If you don't have a lot of money, I'm not asking for any money at all. I'm just saying that if we do anything for you on a monthly basis around here, you're actually not supporting me, you're actually supporting Darren, who's right now behind the camera running them, while my co-host begins to groom. So that's what Patreon is all about. It's about supporting the youth that we've had coming in here. Darren has been with us for a good while. He's not a kid anymore. He's actually fully adulting now. About to buy a house. Not from what I'm paying him, trust me. Because I can't pay him a lot because, you know, Patreon is not bringing in a lot of money. But the Patreon is a way to support him. You get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. We all get together and have a really good time. It's a lot of fun for all of us. And I do tech stuff with you guys on that as well. We're also starting to implement a few other things that we're going to be doing here in the future. We're looking at doing giveaways of coffee cups, t-shirts, things like that. We're going to be doing a lot of those kind of cool stuff for the guys that are actually on Patreon at all levels. So I'll even be doing doodles. We've talked about it, and Darren has talked me into helping him make his, this is how good he is at talking people into things. He's talking me into doing doodles to help make people want to be on there more. So I'll do a doodle of your car if you win the raffle that we do once a month on those. And quarterly for the guys at $10 and over, I'll actually do a color doodle of your car. I'm not going to doodle your face because that's just not in my scope of doing things. But I can doodle a car out for you, and it'll be something you can hang on your wall in your shop if you want to go that way. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about Super Thanks. It's the best idea with the worst name that YouTube has ever come up with for a way to use for you to thank me once.
If we do a great job, hey, we'll take $1.5 million. We're looking for that guy with $1.5 million in US dollars. Don't do it in Koopa Doopa or whatever kind of currency that'll get you to $1.5 million for only doing $1. I won't even mention your name. Sorry, that's just how it's gonna go. But if you do want to tell us how much we stink by giving us only $1 or $2, we'll also mention your name and say that you thought we stunk and you gave us that little bit amount of money. It'll get me $1. I'll make some money off of you no matter what, so there you go. Either way, I want to make some money if I can. So the Super Thanks is just another way to help support Darren and myself with what we do here on the show. This is our full-time job. We do this all the time, every day. So we're grinding this stuff out for you guys so that you can get your cars worked on and know how to do the stuff yourself and save yourself some money. So Super Thanks is just one more way to make that happen for you. Also, turn on your notifications for us. If you're subscribed to the channel, it will be a great way for you to know when we're putting new content up, even though we put content up typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week. We will be putting some content up probably in between that. So we'll have something Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the coming months. We're working on that stuff right now, trying to get everything pulled together to make that happen. So you'll know it's coming when you see it. Do me a favor, folks, be kind to each other, love each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road. Just to be in the middle of the shot. If I could get her job, although she did get wounded in a fight, so I don't know. Maybe it's not that great a job after all. Here's your cat grooming herself video. We could probably do toe beans for the 3 or 4 people who want to see toe beans. And if you don't know what I'm saying when I say toe beans, you're probably not a person that looks at cat videos, because apparently the chicks really dig cat toe beans. I don't know why. It's basically the little pads on their feet. Chicks dig them. I don't know why. It's just a foot. Maybe we should put her on OnlyFans.